Lexis and Lexis+AI. I'm signed in to the law school homepage, www.lexisnexis.com/law school, and I'm going to go to Lexis Plus. This is the standard research screen, and to get to Lexis+AI, we're just going to go to the Protege button. This is Lexis+AI. You can see it here, but Protege is just the name of our legal assistant on AI. So Siri's Apple's legal assistant, Alexa's, Amazon's legal assistant, Protege is ours. So I click the link, and now I'm in Lexis+AI. To get a fresh screen, I just need to be in new conversation, and I can X out of my past conversations. You may not have past conversations if you're going in from the first time, and you may have several pop-ups like this. Just move through them. It's asking you the first time you come in to customize your screen to you and to get the settings the way that you like them. But then you usually don't get asked a lot of things when you come back in. I like that it saves my past conversations, especially for trainings like this, because then I can get back to something that I've already worked on, and it saves it all. So I can jump off something that I've already worked on and continue asking questions. I'm going to show you today how to use the Ask button, the Draft button, and the Documents button. We're going to start with the Ask button because that is where 90% of students do most of their legal research with AI. This is why they're using it. And I use my past conversations because that saves us time. We don't have to wait for Lexis to do the searching to find the answers. And depending on the length of the question and the searching that it needs to do, it can take 20 seconds to a minute or so. So we'll save that time. But just know that if I'm going to start new, I want to ask a question, I would put in my prompt here. From there, I have the ability to narrow by a jurisdiction, and then I'm asked if I want to select just civil law, both civil and criminal, if I want to search in also in unreported cases. It's defaulted to searching just reported cases, so I have to select to search in unreported cases if I want to. Okay, so using my past conversations, a very generic type of first thing we may do with Lexis is just understanding the law for something. Explain the law in Arkansas for covenants not to compete. So explain the law, that's just like the beginning prompt that I like to start with when I need the law explained to me, and I put in the piece that I need explained. Now you can see that I put Arkansas, my jurisdiction, in the call to question, which you can definitely do, but I don't have to. I can select a jurisdiction. It's up to you. Typically, I select a jurisdiction and narrow, but either or works. Another one that is very easy is, how does California define residency for tax purposes? So you can see, again, I put it in the call of the question, my jurisdiction, and it starts to deliver an answer for me and gives me back links to secondary sources and case law. So this one's obviously a case and secondary source where it's getting this information. The links will take me immediately back into Lexis. So from this, we can jump back in and do the deep legal research, start reading those cases to better understand what's going on in that case and if the facts align with ours. Now, I do have a link to view related material. I really love this because it's a way for me to see more cases that are aligned with the topic that I typed in. Statutes, of course, this would either be statutes that are on point or the notes of a statute. Practical guidance, that's more practice notes and things to help me understand the law that it's pulling from. Practical guidance is also your drafting database. So anything that you want to draft, it will be pulling from here. Treatises are the treatises that Lexis used to create that answer. And so I can link on out to them. What I really love about treatises, and the bonus of AI, is I don't need to select and find the best treatise to start my research in. Lexis is going to search across all the treatises and come up and tell me the best ones to use, and I can link back out to them. So while I may not have thought to look at real estate, a secondary source, to answer my question, it may very well be helpful to me based on what I need to know. So these are some of the benefits of AI, as going places that we didn't think to go ourselves. Okay, so I'm going to continue on and show you something that we use a lot with students. Again, this is like a 1L memo assignment. Explain the law for acting with actual malice for claims of false light. So once we have this, I can actually push Lexis 9 more questions I get to follow up from that initial search. So I got a total of 10 prompts I get to put in from that initial piece. So now, after learning more about actual malice, I want to know, are there any cases in the Ninth Circuit or California that show facts that edited camera footage was viewed to be actual malice for claims of false light? So this obviously came from my own set of facts from the 1L's memo assignment. They had a reality TV show where it made someone look bad. So I want to know, are there any cases out there where there were also edited camera footage? But I can actually push Lexis with the call of my prompt to provide me cases that are more slanted one way or another. So I could say, are there any cases in the Ninth Circuit that show facts that edited camera footage was not viewed to be actual malice for claims of false light? So we can actually push Lexis to kind of give me cases that lean one side versus the other if I want to. So from here, I can ask Lexis to start drafting something based on what I've typed in. Lexis needed a little bit more information for it to start drafting some deposition questions on this, but usually it does a pretty good job with coming up with that, and we'll see that in just a minute. Okay, this is something fun that I do with students a lot. When preparing for class, they tend to use this. They don't always know why they're reading a case when they're preparing for class. They may be told, go read your textbook pages 1 through 50, but they don't know what rules of law will be coming up that they need to learn about legal issues in pages 1 through 50. So we do this. Explain the well-established rule in the case, and they put in that citation, and show me the facts that support this rule. Now, this allows Lexis to kind of pinpoint what is the very common, most discussed reason in this case by treatises and secondary sources. So we're kind of pinpointing that well-established rule, the one that's the most important from this case, and the facts that support it get Lexis to start telling me about that legal reasoning that some students have a really hard time defining. So this type of question is pushing Lexis to tell me more about the rule and the facts that support that rule, so I can really start to understand how the rule applies to a set of facts. If I wanted to, I could say, explain the well-established rule in this case, show me the facts that support this rule and how they relate to, and this is where you would put in your own set of facts. So we can actually push Lexis to do the analysis between the facts and a rule of law in a case and our own set of facts. And I'll say that one more time. Explain the well-established rule in this case, show me the facts that support that rule, and how those facts can be applied when, and you put in our own scenario. So you can see just by pushing Lexis a little bit with your prompt, you can get it to start doing that analogizing that we need it to do to our own set of facts. Okay, another fun one we worked with students on was just prepping for class and finals. Can you create hypothetical exam questions on custodial interrogations and answer it? And it did start to do it. I did want it to answer it, so I made sure that it gave me the answer and, of course, the cases that came from it. I can actually be a little more generic and say, can you create hypothetical exam questions for criminal procedure, and answer it? And it would create a few for me from criminal procedure that are often discussed. It does a really good job with that. So students can practice studying for the bar, studying for test questions using Lexis+AI. Okay, so everything we were just doing was under the Ask button. Let's take a look at the Draft button real quick. Now, Draft is for actually drafting legal documents. We want to make sure that we are using the Draft button when what we want is a template or a legal document drafted for us. So we need a client letter, we need deposition questions, we need something drafted. We don't want to use draft like ask. So I had a student when learning AI say, can you draft an argument for me for explaining the law for actual malice? What he really wanted was just an ask button. He wanted to understand how acting with actual malice was for claims of false light. So draft is for drafting documents, ask is for understanding the law. Okay, so now that that's clear, let's go in and see what I've done before. This was an actual 2L problem at one of my schools. They were in a Gen AI, Tech AI class, and they needed to draft a client letter. Now, all of this came straight from the professor. I didn't prompt Lexis in any way to understand the law for community property before I went to draft. I came right in, went to draft, and wrote this. Draft a client letter, no more than 1,000 words. That's a parameter the professor wanted, so we put that in. It's all, not necessary usually. Informing our client's rights of his stock when our client purchased stock before marriage at this price, and this year he got married later. The stock went down, he gets divorced later, the stock's at an all-time high. And then, of course, we need those key facts we want Lexis to understand. There was no money added to the stock during marriage. And Lexis did a great job at explaining the law for me. Now, I did put in California is my jurisdiction. I preset that. You can see that here. And so it knew we were talking about California's community property state. So here, is the client letter starting out, separate versus community property, my stock and its appreciation, the rights of the client, and the next step. So a really great first legal client letter that we wanted drafted. Now, I went a little further because the professor also wanted Lexis to draft deposition questions to ask Miss Divorcee about her husband's stock. For some reason, Lexis has asked me to put in the name of the client when I did this, so I made up Miss Divorcee. Usually in a real world scenario, we'd have a name. So it says to address the lawyer's questions regarding the characterization of ownership of the stock purchased by the husband for marriage, the following deposition questions can be answered, explored. So we've got ownership of the sources of funds, the stock value and appreciation, market conditions, external factors, community if the community property contributed anything, documentation, and so on. So I thought this was a really good starting off point for thinking of deposition questions and get the ball rolling. And then, of course, the supporting documents as well, where a lot of that came from, the law came from. Okay, so those are two uses for drafting client letter. And you can see Lexis is actually asking me, now that I've done this, do I want to open up any of this in draft mode? That just means Lexis is asking if I want to pop this open, and we'll take a look at it. And now here's that client letter. So I can just start using my little pencil icon and put in the names of things and start working on it right here. And then, of course, I can save it, download it, and use that document right here. So draft mode allows me to actually start working on this right on my screen and continue asking legal questions and continue working on my document. So that's pretty nice. I'm going to save and exit. And we are going to go on and I'll show you new conversation. This time we'll go to documents. Now you can see documents is a little different because it's asking me to upload a document from my own computer. So yeah, this is where we take an electronic document of our own and use that as the jumping off point to do some research. I can even save those electronic documents on my system because that way I don't need to upload it every single time I want to work with it. So it's being saved in this vault. Just know, please, that everything on Lexis is secure with our top-notch security to uphold HIPAA and attorney-client privilege. So even though things are saved, they are still not saved on the system in a way that would violate attorney-client privilege or HIPAA violations. It's all coded in a way that's encrypted just for you and for your purposes. Okay, so I've uploaded two things and saved them to a vault, a brief assignment from Chapman a couple years ago, and the Southwestern Spring problem. So these two were pretty large, and when dealing with something large, I like to it takes more time. It takes about 5 minutes to work with the Southwestern Spring problem because it was a 65-page document. So when dealing with something that long, it takes Lexis about 3 minutes to answer questions. So please know that I'm going to actually use this to show you what I did to save us some time. So once I went to my vault, I opened up the Southwestern Spring problem as my source. Again, it took about 3 minutes to open up because the document is so big. And it says, my files have been uploaded. What do you want? And I asked, what legal questions come up in this document? Then from that 65-page document that was full of depots, and it's basically a big trial file that was given to attorneys to prepare for their appeal. So you can imagine a lot of things in there from the lower court and depots, things like that, that are in there equaling 65 pages. It talked about issues of false light. It talked about damages and causation. It talked about editing and intent, First Amendment issues, jurisdiction, etc. So it did a really beautiful job at outlining what went on in that 65 pages. I could have asked it to summarize it. This is just another way that what I wanted to understand was the legal questions, but I could have said summarize the document that came up. I use this a lot in firms actually, because they need huge medical files, often summarized. So even though you're uploading something, it doesn't have to be legally based document. It could be something like medical files, and we're asking it to be summarized. And the benefit, of course, of using Lexis+AI is that security. I can't ask ChatGPT to upload one of my clients' files because it's breaking HIPAA violations. But here, the medical files stay protected, and we can do something like summarize this file. I asked it what legal questions come up. I also asked it, can you create a timeline of events using the document? Now, this was beautiful because it pulled this timeline from all the statement of facts, from the different documents listed, from the depositions. All this timeline came to view so I could better understand the chain of events and how they happened based on all the documents uploaded. Then this was really the creme de la creme. I really wanted to better understand what was in those documents. So the main issue was false light acting with actual malice, false light invasion of, actual malice. And so now I want to know, well, what things came up in my document that the Bear Network, that's the defendant, acted with reckless disregard for truthfulness. So this is where we're really pushing Lexis, pull out from that document where the facts were that may be the reckless disregard for truth. And the way I got that was just better understanding the false light, understanding that actual malice, reckless disregard for truth. So that's where I got that from. And now I'm saying, all right, I know that's the law. Pull out all the things from the different depots where we might have a problem or where the problem exists, right? And it did a really good job with that. So to me, this is really, the beauty, especially for students, to quickly see, all right, I really need to pay attention to these pieces. And now I need to go in and do things like this. Now that I better understand what pieces of my hypo I have problems with, then I want to ask Lexis in the Ask button, are there any cases in the Ninth Circuit that show facts that edited camera footage was viewed to be actual malice for claims of false light? So my set of facts had to do with edited camera footage. And now I want to know, well, what cases out there have similar facts to that? Right? And so this is where we're kind of tying all the pieces together. And then it's, of course, bringing me the cases that I'm going to now need to go into, link out to, and spend the real time understanding the language used, getting those real quotes from the case to analogize to for my set of facts and my edited camera footage. So that's how, all the pieces come together. I hope that makes sense. Always coming back to legal research is, of course, key, and what we teach the students. AI is our assistant, our jumping off point, helps us put the pieces of the puzzle, to see the pieces of the puzzle, but to dig deep, we must do that deep legal research. Shepherdizing must be done here. And these two just go hand in hand to do really quality work, saving us some time. Thank you so much. I hope this was what you were looking for.